Good morning, beautiful, and welcome to another Thursday Talk and the Organizing Mindset podcast with me, Susanna Kay. This week we are continuing to talk about mental load and open loops. So I am thrilled that you're here with me. As you hop on, let me know who you are and where you are joining me from. Like I said, this week we are continuing the discussion on mental load and open loops. So we're doing a deep dive with some actionable steps you can take to reduce your mental load and close some of those loops. So you don't want to miss this one. I have some actual routines and techniques that you can use to close those loops and make it a little less of a chore, a little bit more interesting, but get it done as well. So, like I mentioned, as you hop on, let me know who you are and where you're joining me from. And if you're loving the Thursday Talks and you'd like to support me so I can continue to provide these for free for everyone, then please consider supporting me. You can support me in whatever amount works for you, $1, $1 million, whatever you'd like. But you can choose the amount over at susannakay.live/support. All right, so let's dive into today's talk. And I just realized, let me put the comments that you can see the comments on the screen as well. Wonderful. All right, so we have hello to CJ and Nancy. Welcome. Brenda is here. Welcome, Brenda. And Pauline. Pauline's here from England. Welcome, Pauline. We've got, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Is it Coral or Coral? But she sends a flower. Thank you. Gloria's here. Welcome. Lovely Marie from Alaska is here. And Deb, she's even on vacation and she's here with us. Love that. Welcome to Melody. Fantastic. All right. Well, since you are so ready for this, let's dive in. So open loops are even harder for women who have ADHD, perimenopause, menopause, or who are simply feeling overwhelmed, procrastinating, feeling unfocused. Open loops are one of the things that affects us more than most, especially women. We tend to notice more open loops. So what is mental load and what are open loops? Let's do a quick recap. We talk about this much more in depth in the part 1, and we continue the discussion in part 2 with attention residue. But open loops are any unfinished task or unmade decision that your brain basically keeps holding open. So that half-written email, that those thoughts about I should do this, piles of papers that you've not sorted yet, like that pile of mail on the counter, clothes that you've not decided whether you really want to keep or if you should let them go. All of those are open loops, and your brain keeps those tabs open. So your brain, even when you don't realize it, is keeping track of all of these different things that are simply unfinished. Now, mental load, that's what we call, it's not the doing of things, but it's that constant remembering and planning that weighs you down. So the mental load is, a lot of that is made up of open loops. So it's all of the thoughts that your brain has about all of these unfinished tasks and unmade decisions. And it creates this sort of weight. And it uses a lot of your brain's focus and energy in order to keep track of all of these different open loops, all these things that are unfinished or undecided. So it's kind of like you have dozens of tabs open in your mental browser that are just draining energy. You don't even realize that they're open. You're not using them, but your brain is just keeping that thought going in the background because we're afraid of forgetting it. So mental load is what we call all of that weight and those thoughts about your unfinished tasks, right? So overall, it's called, this is your mental load. And it causes a lot of problems, right? All of those actual unfinished tasks, unmade decisions, those individually are each called an open loop. So those are open loops. Now, when we are talking about mental load and open loops, we're talking about this right now, especially because we just finished our action file challenge. Now, your action file, which I have mine over there, your action file is a great place to keep all of these open loops, all the information about your open loops, so your brain does not have to keep thinking about that. So it will reduce the mental load. So we're talking about this right now because we're talking about our action file and how to make the most of our action file. If you don't already have your action file, that's okay. Hop by the store at susannak.com. You can either build yours for free from things you have at home, or you can grab a kit that's already made that I can send to you. Either way, the action file is kind of like an attention bookmark. It's what you can just place things in the action file to get them out of your brain and into a safe place so you don't forget. So let's talk about, with our mental load and specifically our open loops, how can we manage these open loops? Now, there's never really a point in time where you don't have an open loop, okay? We will always have open loops. It's the difference between having negative effects of open loops versus healthy open loops are how we're thinking about them and how they are affecting our energy. So what we want is we want to transition from this scattered, overwhelming, heavy feeling, this mental load that weighs on us and helps and makes us feel out of control, makes us want to either procrastinate or overwork or stress out, right? We want to go from that, because we have unhealthy open loops happening, to having this feeling of control and not having the mental load along with those open loops. So we're not just replaying all these things in our head and trying to not forget things and remembering things in the middle of the night. And so we want the mental load to be lighter, because we've got our healthy way of handling open loops, right? And healthier open loops. So not so scattered, feeling in control. Some of our open loops are good loops because they might be things we're looking forward to. So that's our transition. It's mostly about how we feel about the open loops that we have, and closing loops, as like closing the loops that we need to be able to close in order to get there. So we want to relieve the load, the mental load, so it is no longer draining our energy, and we can feel more confident and in control and calm. And you know those days when for some reason you just feel like, you know what, I've got this, and I'm working through things, and things are getting done, and I'm not panicked, I'm not pressured, I'm just productive. We want that. More of that, please. So that's our goal. Not to get rid of all loops, but to be able to have a system and flow for our loops so that the mental load is not so much. So we're going to dive into one of the two techniques that I will teach you today. First technique is the 1-minute loop closers, and then we will dive into the 1-hour loop closers. All right. So we're going to start with the 1 minute. Before we do that, I want to hop over to the chat real quick. And let's see, we have, oh, perfect. Coral. So she says, it sounds like coral in Florida, but spelled like music. Oh, I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. And then Sue says, hello from Texas. Fantastic. Now, if you have questions as we go, or if you have an aha moment, or if you think of a situation that you can relate what we're talking to, let me know in the chat. Because when you share, oh, I understand that, this is how it looks in my life, or asking a question, it helps everybody, right? It helps other people to see that they're not alone. It helps give more examples. And that question that you think might be a silly question, I bet you're not the only one who has it. So please use the chat, ask your questions, and share your aha moments or examples from your life, because it just helps everybody. So let's dive into the 1-minute loop closers. Now, 1-minute loop closers, this is a technique that I really like to do because it gives our brain confirmation that we are somebody who closes loops, and it calms our nervous system. So we're not in this high, like scared, stressed out state the more loops we close, the more it calms our nervous system, even when they're just little loops. So having a quick way to give yourself some good wins and close some loops, this is really essential for your brain to feel calmer and feel more in control. So the 1-minute loop closers, basically these are tiny, low resistance wins that prove that you close loops. So we're teaching your brain that you close loops, right? And by low resistance, it's easy, it's quick, your brain's not going to talk you out of it as much. So that's what we want, especially if you're feeling like you're overwhelmed or feeling like you're procrastinating. So what does this look like? A 1-minute loop closer. So first off, you will look around for any open loop that takes under a minute for you to move forward on or just take care of, right? Check your action files to-do folder or just look around on your surfaces and see what's left out. But look for any open loop that takes under a minute to move forward. And remember, an open loop is either an unfinished task, more often than not an unfinished task. It can also be an unmade decision, something that you've not completely decided on, so your brain's still holding on to. So look around, pick one that takes under about a minute to complete. Then do it. So step 2, do it or decide it permanently. So that shirt hanging in your closet that you've not had any time that you've actually worn it, still has the tag on. You've not made a decision though, whether you're truly going to keep it or let it go. Make that decision. Maybe it means that really quickly you try it on with some pants that you have to see if it matches, or maybe really quickly you just try it on to see how it feels. Either way, make the decision, and then it either goes in the donate pile or now you know what you can wear with it. Or do it completely. So in your action file to do folder, there's probably something that you've thrown in there that you can just quickly do, such as, check on a website to see if something's shipped. Something simple, right? So look for open loops that are very quick, usually take under a minute. Do it or decide it. Then number 3, sorry, I've got balloons on the screen. Just the weirdest random things. Number 3, say out loud, I close loops. Now, the reason we say this is because we are trying to teach our brain and reinforce in our brain that we close loops. This will help calm the nervous system, boost our confidence, and it will make us more likely to close loops to begin with when we first come across them rather than letting them build up. But we have to build that belief in ourselves first. So say out loud, I close loops. I walk around doing this in my head and sometimes out loud, because out loud is even more effective, all day. I close loops. I close loops. I'm a loop closer. If anybody heard inside my head, they'd think I was a crazy person. So after you say out loud, I close loops, record it on your done list, your to-do list, as CJ, I believe it was either CJ or Lori with an O or both, had come up with, and that's what we call our done to-do list, or the done column of your to-do list, wherever. This also helps retrain it. So you can write down, decided to give away that shirt. Check. Done, right? And then this is the mantra that you're going to repeat throughout the day, and remind yourself whenever you feel stuck. Noticing the loop is the first step to closing the loop, because at first, when you first start doing this, there will be a lot of loops around you. When you look around, you will see so many loops that could shut you down and stress you out. That's not what we want. So whenever you're first starting, if you see a lot of open loops around, that's okay, because noticing the loop is the first step to closing the loop. It's just like AA, right? The first step, I believe, is something like admitting that you have a problem, admitting that you're an alcoholic. This is the same thing, noticing the loops, because sometimes we walk through and we don't even realize how many open loops are around us, but our brain is processing them. So noticing the loops is the first step. If there are a lot of loops, that's okay. Then pop into your 1-minute loop closers. And you could just do this for maybe 5 minutes and just get a couple loops completed, and that's going to do an amazing amazing amount of good in your brain. So 1 minute loop closers, they're tiny low resistance wins that prove that you close loops. And right now we're retraining our brain to say, I close loops, so that we will close loops more. 1, you look for any open loop that's under a minute that you can just move forward on or resolve. 2, do it or decide it permanently, right? Just get it done. 3, say out loud, I close loops. 4, write it down on your to-do list in the done column, or your to-do list if you have one of the lists that we talk about in the Pathfinders of all of your done tasks, so that we train our brain. And then remember, when you get overwhelmed, noticing the loop is the first step to closing the loop, and you will get through them one step at a time, right? So that is our 1 minute loop closers. Next, we will talk about the 1 hour loop closers. Now, this is what moves the needle even more on some of those heavier feeling loops. The 1 minute ones, those clear up a lot of the visual loops, and they give you that quick win. They give you the boost of dopamine. They prove to your brain that you're a loop closer. Not all loops are a minute or less to do, right? So we'll talk next about the 1 hour loop closers, which will handle some of these bigger loops or bigger groups of loops. Really quickly in the chat, I did, though, want to say hi to Chris. Glad to have you here from Florida, fellow Floridian. Yes. And Coral says the action files equals a brain dump. And it does. That is absolutely accurate. So your to-do folder can be your brain dump of these are all of the things, all these open loops that I'm thinking of, all the I shoulds, all of the stuff that needs to get done, all of the thoughts about things that need to get done. Put them in your action files to-do folder. And then when you go through that to-do folder, you can separate out, what's a do now, what's a do later. You can do a 1 minute loop closing, but your brain in the meantime does not have to hold on to all those things. Your to-do folder is holding on to those for you. So you don't have to. So you can walk around all day with a clear brain and not churning through all of these things. So yes, I love it. Coral, you have it down. All right, so let's talk about the 1 hour loop closers. So the 1 hour loop closers, this is what will help you complete some of the larger open loops. It will help you make even more progress, and it will relieve the weight of some of those heavier loops, right? So with the 1 hour loop closers, the first step, you're going to choose one cluster, one category, one theme of items to work on for this 1 hour. It could be your to file folder in your action file, right? It could be the papers on the kitchen counter, your email inbox, the donation pile in your closet, all of the receipts that you've collected since June, whatever it is, pick one category. We don't want it to just be all open loops, because then it's not as focused and it makes it much harder to feel like you're in control and making progress. So one loop cluster, one category, one theme. Set a 60-minute timer. A lot of times I will tell you, you can get this done in less than 60 minutes, which actually is a burst of dopamine as well. If you do, you don't have to. Sometimes it'll take longer than 60 minutes. It's okay, because we can come to a complete loop point and keep working on some of these things later as well. But for now, we're just going to set our 60-minute timer. 3, apply this 4-step mini framework. All right, so you might want to jot this down or watch this on the replay again later. But here's your little mini framework of what you're going to do during this 1 hour. First off, do it. If it's quick in that category, so let's think about the category of kitchen counter papers, right? So maybe real quick, you found a card that you need to just RSVP and put back in the mail. That's super quick, just do it, rather than having it live in your ecosystem longer. Decide. So if it's not super quick where you can just do it, then make a decision. Write down on each item on the kitchen counter papers. You can possibly write it right on the paper. Use one of the friction pens so you can erase it later, or use a Post-it note and write down what is the next action for that item. Even if it has 200 different actions, if it's a huge project, doesn't matter. What is the one next action you can do for that item? We only worry about the next action, right? So make a decision. Each item, what is the next action? Write that down. And then you can choose, if it's a really long project where you can't do it right now, put it in your action file folder in the tab for whatever the next action is. So if it's to read, then put it in the to read folder. If you have to enter information somewhere else, put it in the to enter. A lot of it will go in the to do folder. The nice thing is you've already written down what the next action is. So you've made that decision. When you go to your action file to work through things, you already know exactly what the next step is. You removed the barrier, right? So if it's a big project, you can't do it in an hour, that's okay. Defer it, put it in your action file folder with the decision written on it. And then if you finished it, or if you've chosen not to do it anymore, right? That's also a way of completing something, is to decide that you're never going to complete it. Delete it. Whether it's shred, recycle, marking it as final and filing it, whatever you do to complete something of that type, get rid of it. Finalize it. So once the timer is done, you're done. Even if it's not perfect, right? We're not aiming for everything to be perfect. It does not even need to be done. We're not going for endless. The timer is here because we're doing 1 hour of work that closes the loop on all of those things that you've made decisions on or done really quickly. So now when you walk away, you know, okay, things are settled. I know what the next step are on things. I got a bunch of quick things done. I feel more in control, right? And then finally, and this is really important because we're retraining our brain, celebrate visibly. Whether it is doing a happy dance, texting a friend, take a before and after picture and post it in the group, in the Home Organizing Challenges group, whatever it is, share your success. I closed 27 loops, whatever it is. Even if it's I closed 2 loops, those were great loops. So just a reminder, the 1 hour loop closers, you will get a decent amount done, but you will also set yourself up for when you are working throughout the day, because everything will be decided on, categorized, etc. Choose one category, set a 60-minute timer, use the 4-step framework where you either do it if it's real quick, or you decide on it. You record what the next step is for that item. Defer it. You can defer it by, once you've written what the next step is, put it in your action file in the correct tab, delete it. If it's done, or if you've chosen not to do it, then delete it. Actually let it go, right? Because if you've not actually gotten rid of the paper, then it's still an open tab. Stop when the timer's done, even if it's not perfect, even if there's still more to do, that is okay. That is a closed 1 hour loop. It is not endless. And then celebrate visibly, right? We need to celebrate ourselves. So I will then I'm going to talk really quickly about how we can use the action file to make all this easier and wrap it all up into that action file. But really quickly in the chat area, I wanted to say, from CJ, she says, yes, Susanna, I always call this out as 1 hour better. I love that. Yes, 1 hour better. I might steal that one if you don't mind. 1 hour better is absolutely the truth. It does not have to be perfect. There are too many hours worth of things that we need to do. But if we can get an hour better, then that's amazing. Oh, good. Pauline says, I'm taking screenshots, which is quicker for me. Perfect. Yay. That's another part of why I like to post things on the screen. Very visible. All right, so we've got our 1 minute and we've got our 1 hour. How does that work with our action file? Let me grab mine. So in our action file, remember, and I've got my sample folders in there for this. We don't need those. So remember your action file. This is the safe physical home for your open loops, right? So once you have thought of something, oh, I should order new handkerchiefs for my dad for Christmas. Write it on a Post-it. Write it on the back of an envelope. Write it on something, right? And then put it in the right folder in your action file. So not the whole pad, just the Post-it. But put it in the correct folder. So that way your brain, if you don't write it down, your brain is going to try to remember that for you. And it will keep coming up every once in a while, and it'll keep chewing it on in the background and wasting your energy. Once you've written it down and put it in your action file, this is like a bookmark. Your brain knows that it is safe because you will come back to your action file, and it knows that you will remember specifically what it's trying to remember because you wrote it down. So this is a little bookmark that instead of keeping it in your brain, you've now taken it and you've put it into your action file so it's safe for later. And it's not a post-it note that's just floating around your house either, because too many post-it notes around, those are not one safe space that your brain trusts, right? Your brain just sees a bunch of post-it notes and now it's keeping track of post-it notes. But if you put it in one place where your brain already trusts, or your brain's learning to trust, then your brain can let it go. So your action file is that safe physical home. It's that bookmark for all of your actions so your brain does not have to keep chewing on it. So you're going to take those thoughts, put them in your action file, put it in the correct folder. A lot of times that'll be the to-do folder. Now, when it is time to browse through your action file, which can be one of your 1-hour loop closers, right? Browse through, you go through usually the to-do folder, open it up, and then you're going to take all of those little loops that you wrote down. Oops, try not to drop things. Not very successfully. There we go. All of those loops that you wrote out, they are now in your action files to-do folder, along with any other papers that you've put in there. And remember, just browsing through our to-do folder does not mean that we have to do it right then. We're just looking to make sure that we know everything that's in there, so you don't have to worry about forgetting something. So now, as you are looking through your to-do folder, right, you can start to separate things. In our 1-hour loop closing, this is a great way to do it. You can look and see, okay, what was this? What is my next action on it? Oh yeah, so this is a gift certificate that I need to remember. Call to set appointment. Now I can write down what the next task is, or with this one, it's very fast. If it's during their business hours, I could just call and set the appointments that it's done, right? And then that loop is closed. If it's not during business hours, then I've got written down in my erasable pen, what is my next task? And then I can put it into a category of either, this is something I can do right now, like I need to do immediately, this is due today, or this is due this week. Or we can also have a category of, these would be nice to do later. They are not due right now though, so my brain does not have to worry about these right now. So here's another example. I have an envelope with a return address. I need to send a thank you card, right? So I already wrote it on there. That's something that I can do in 1 minute or less. So I can put it in my do real quick pile. I have a to-do list that I made for myself before. All of your lists can also go in your to-do folder. So if you make multiple lists sometimes, then put them in your to-do folder. You will find them and you can compile them and look and see what you actually need to do. So I can even write on this list, okay, it's a yin class, I need to schedule. So to schedule, stretch at home, go for a walk. These are self-care things. So I can write down what my next step is or schedule these things in my calendar real quick. So that's something super fast. Sometimes it is something slower. Like this is a statement that I need to go through, right? So my next step with this is to review, because first I want to just look it over, see if there's anything wrong that I need to address. That's going to take a little bit longer, but it needs to be done probably this week. So that way I can make sure that if there's a problem, I address it. So this can go in my not real quick, not 1 minute. This can go in my, hey, do it this week, but it's going to take longer than a minute. So you could just go through each of these things and mark them down as to what that next step is. Once you have your piles, right, and you'll probably have some for to do later, but you don't need to worry about it right now. So once you have those piles all separated out, you have a choice. You can either keep them separated within your to-do folder. So these can be your 1-minute tasks, and they can go in a little subfolder in here or just clip them together. You can have your, these need to be done today or this week. So those can be in a little subfolder or clipped together. And then you can have these, I want to do them, but I don't need to do them anytime soon. These would be nice to do, but they can be later. So this could be a completely separate folder in your action file if you want to use one of your customized folders. One of them is to do later. And you can just put all of those things in the to do later file. So that way you won't forget them, but they won't be amongst all of your really important things. So now you have things decided. You've already written down what is the next step. You've got them categorized, and you know exactly what needs to be done, about how long it's going to take, and you've got everything on your radar, right? So this way, when you do your 1-minute loop closing, great, you've got a bunch of 1-minute tasks that you've already separated out, right? When you do your 1-hour closing, maybe you work on closing some of these loops. Maybe you just knock some of these out. This whole system, though, is designed so that way all of these loops, you know exactly what the next decision is. They are safely in this one spot. This folder does not go anywhere for long. You can take it out to work on it, and then you put it right back into your action file. So that way your brain trusts it, that this is the one place where everything is, right? So my brain no longer has to worry about A, remembering each of these loops, or B, what's in my to-do folder, because I've already gone through it and I've categorized, I know the next steps, I feel more in control. So that mental load has lifted significantly by seeing what needs to be done, knowing that I've got control of it. And I don't have to keep thinking about it. So I can sleep through the night without waking up remembering the random thing. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I will do a quick recap of some of these things. Remember, if you don't have your action file, or if you've not set yours up yet, not tried it, go to SusannaK.com. For free, you can download the guide on how to set up your own action file. And you can create it with whatever you already have at home. So there's no excuse. There's a free guide that will tell you how to set it up. If you just have not gotten around to that, or if you want the easy button, you can also order one. I'll mail it to you. It's already set up. It looks pretty much like this, but without my to-do list in there. And you will be ready to go. So let's go to the chat, and then I will do a quick recap. All right. In the chat, Lovely Marie says, I find if I only have 3 months of bills at a time in a binder, and then I shred at the end of the year, it's so much easier just to replace the next 3 months. That way the binder is not overloaded or overwhelmed. Yes, absolutely. Because they're finished, right? And by shredding, that's a done. You know that not only have you paid it, but you know that there's nothing else that you need to do with it. It's just resolved. I love that. And it does not get super heavy. Hi, Joanna. Good to see you. CJ says to Lovely Marie, I love that. CJ says, so many good ideas in this session. I'll need to rewatch and apply these steps. Yes, absolutely. Brenda Jean says, thank you for this. You're so welcome. And CJ says, P.S. Susanna, you look great and I love your henna tattoo. Oh, thank you. At the gallery showing this past, what was it, last weekend? There was a henna tattoo artist. So I got it, my first henna tattoo. I thought it was really fun. Thank you, thank you. All right, so today we talked about your mental load, deep dive. What are some tiny wins and loop closers? What are the things that we can actually do? We talked about what is mental load and what are open loops. Remember, open loops are the unfinished tasks and unmade decisions that your brain keeps holding open. It keeps chewing on, right? Mental load is that chewing. It's not the doing of the task. It's that constant remembering of all the things you should do, all the things you want to do, all the decisions you've not made, all of that weighs you down. It saps your energy so you can't do the things because you're too busy thinking about the things, even when you don't realize it. We talked about the 1-minute loop closers. So the 1-minute loop closers are those tiny low resistance wins that prove that you close loops. It's retraining your brain. It's boosting the confidence, it's reducing the overwhelm. So 1 minute ones, this is where you look around for any open loop. It takes under a minute to look forward and resolve. Remember, if there's a lot of loops, that's okay. You're going to do this more than once. So eventually there will be fewer loops. Number 2, do it. If it takes a minute or less, then just do it completely or make that decision permanently. Shred, donate, whatever it is. Say out loud, once you've completed the loop, say, I close loops, because we're retraining our brain, remember? And then record it in your to-do list or your done column so you can celebrate and train your brain for that dopamine hit of, it's done, I closed the loop. There's something about crossing it off of a to-do list or writing on our done list that gives us extra dopamine. And then we have our 1 hour loop closers. Now you can use the 1 hour loop closer to feel like you have more control and to know exactly what's going on and to manage your loops, and you can use it to close your loops. So pick your theme, the category, to file folder, kitchen counter papers, email inbox, whatever it is. Set a 60-minute timer. Sometimes you will be done in less than 60 minutes. That's extra exciting. Sometimes it will go longer than 60 minutes, but at 60 minutes you will stop, right? So don't go over the 60 minutes because we're training our brain that we can do just 60 minutes without it becoming a big thing. Apply the 4-step mini framework. So if it's quick, just do it. Do it really fast. If it's not quick, make a decision. What is the next action needed for this item? And record it. Write it down. Write it on that piece of paper. Write it on a Post-it and stick it to it. Defer it. If it's too big to do right now and you're not going to work on it in this session, then put it with its description of what the next action is. Put it in your action file, because then your brain can let go of it. It knows it's contained, it's safe, you know what the next step is. Even if you're not doing it now, it still closes the loop for your brain a little bit. And when it's done, delete it. Shred the paper, recycle it, mark it as final, put it in the donation bin, whatever it is. Make sure that you completely finished it so it does not linger. And then when that timer goes off, you stop. So even if it's not perfect, even if there's still more to do, we want to train our brain that closure can also be a time limit, and it's not endless. If we let ourselves keep going each time, then our brain does not believe us when we say that we'll just do an hour. And then visibly celebrate. Remember, retraining our brain, giving ourselves that dopamine hit. I closed 27 loops. Take a before and after picture and post it in the Facebook group or text your friend. And remember that your action file is your best friend, because it is that one place. If you've got a bunch of different places, it does not work as well. You've got the one place that your brain knows everything is safe in. So if you write yourself a note, put it in here, then your brain does not have to keep remembering it, and it trusts because this is your one place. So the action file is the place where your brain knows it can let go. It's a safe physical home. It's an attention bookmark, so it does not weigh on your mind. So for reflection, think about what types of loops weigh on you, bother you the most. For me, some of the types of loops that weigh on me the most are things around the house that are cluttered or unclean. Sometimes it's much more cluttered and much more unclean than I want, and that can really weigh on me. I don't even realize it until I clean it up sometimes. But that weighs on me more than a lot of things. And then things that I've promised to other people. Those weigh on me more than some of the other things. So knowing what weighs on you the most helps. So what types of loops, of open loops, weigh on you, bother you the most? And then your homework. Write or post one loop closed win in the group. Add a photo if you want to. It's always fun to see the photos, but close a loop. It can be a 1-minute loop, and post it in the group, because we want that celebration, that dopamine hit. We want the celebration of other people saying how great we did. That's really important. So that is your homework this week. Hopefully you are enjoying this series. Remember, grab your action file if you don't already have it from SusannaK.com and go to the store And if you do love these Thursday talks, please consider supporting me. This is a 6-part series. This was part 3. So there are still 3 more, and we are going to go through some things that are super specific and helpful in the next 3. So if you want a lot of specific actions and understanding of how to do this, especially with papers, this is the place for you. So share this with a friend. Let's see, CJ says, it's not the doing, it's the chewing. Yes, when your brain is chewing on it. It's not the doing of the things, it's the chewing. Love it. Coral says, what's that site for the action file? So it's just SuzannaK.com, SuzannaKaye.com. And you just click on the store link and you will find the free download for the guide there. If you want to download the guide and do it yourself, you will also be able to grab the kit if you want to not have to build it yourself. They're both right there. So SuzannaK.com, click on the store. Lovely Marie says, I know this isn't about papers, but how can we close loops for non-papers like crafts, etc.? Same way, because you can still write on a Post-it note, finish that crocheted baby blanket. Next step is, knit the pink or crochet the pink part, whatever. I don't crochet very well, so I don't know the next steps. I'm using a terrible example for me because I don't know what the next step would be. Maybe next step, just continue working on it. But you can still write it on a note and put that in your action file because it's an open loop, and that way your brain does not have to try to remember to go back and finish that crochet project, right? It's going to know that, oh, when I come across the note, it's in here. So your action file can have some fun things in there too, such as craft items that you can continue and complete. So same way for non-papers, write it down, put it in your action file. That way you will remember and you can go back to it when you are able to. Great question. All right, beautiful. I love you so much. Pathfinders, if you are part of the Pathfinders Plus Club, we have our Pathfinders Thursday talk in about 15 minutes. So I will see you over there live. We will continue the conversation and catch up and connect and do all the things that help us become even more successful and motivated for the week. All right, see you soon. I love you. And you've got this one small step at a time, beautiful. Mwah! I will see you soon. Bye now.